announced that right next door in the cafeteria, they're giving flu shots away. It's co-sponsored by the Smithfield Emergency Management Agency and around the Department of Health. So if you want to get the flu shot, please do so right next door. I think I might. First, let me first say that we're going to have some ground rules tonight. And that is, we're going to try to keep this meeting as orderly as possible. We don't want to get into name call, personalities, aside. Our school committee meetings have always run this way. We've operated in a way that is genuine and is courteous to everybody that's in the audience. We're going to have a slight change in the agenda tonight, and I want to clarify, I'm going to ask the board to allow me to make this change. That is, first, we're going to have our attorney, Ben Scungio, make a presentation. Second, we will have a report from our business manager and our director of pupil personnel services. Third, I'm going to bring everybody up to date as to the most recent conversations that I've had via email and telephone. And then fourth, the superintendent of schools, Mr. Wimberg, will make a recommendation to this board for an action. And then we will bring it up to our fifth item, and that being good welfare. We're not going to deny anybody the right to speak. We want it to be formal. We do have a sign-in sheet here. There is one still on the table. I'll read the names right from what I have here, and we'll go from that point. We'll give you 2 minutes to speak. I know that a lot of people will probably say the same things, so if you don't have a problem with coming up and saying, I agree with everything that's been said, but I'd like to add something, that's fine. We have no problem with that. We're going to control the meeting as best we can. We do have the police in attendance, so if anybody decides to act up or be unruly, we will ask you to kindly sit down, and if that doesn't work, we'll have you removed from the building. And when you do go up to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, so we can have your comments clearly noted in the record. Okay, with that, I'm asking for a motion of the Smithfield School Committee to move up fiscal year 14 operating capital, approval of corrective action plan, and approval of staff layoffs. So move Mr. Heenan, second. Second is Darren Dudley. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Mr. Scungio?
Good evening, school committee. No. Can't? Okay, I'll try to speak louder. How's that? Still can't? How about this? Better? This is unusual because people can usually hear being attorney that's all I'm here tonight at the request of the school committee, and it's really for a specific purpose. I know a lot of people have heard about the law and the actions that the school committee had to take, and there's probably some confusion about that. So my job tonight is to tell you what the law is, to give you what I call a helicopter, a very high view about what the school committee has to do according to the law as soon as there's a deficit. Additionally, in particular with the deficit, how the school committee has to act so you understand what they did and why they did it. Additionally, one of the elements you probably heard about is a term called the corrective action plan. We'll explain to you what that is. The school committee and the superintendent are able to explain the particulars, but the school committee at their last meeting adopted a corrective action plan. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to review some important information that I think that you should have. So the point of this presentation is that before you make your comments, you can do it in a hopefully more educated fashion, so you understand the world that the school committee has to operate in right now based upon state law. One thing that you should know with respect to the law is that it requires the school committee to act in a certain way within a certain time frame. And that's really important that you understand that, because I think that will make a lot of sense for you as to what the school committee has done so far and what they hope to do in the future. The last question that I have listed in my introduction, that's really for all of you to consider in your comments in the school committee. What is a good and a fair path forward? That's not within my purview. That's up to the citizens of the town, the school committee, and the town council and the town administrators. But it really is the most important question here. I will eliminate some. Stand away from that? Okay. So the first question is, what is legally required in terms of steps when a school district is in a mid-year projected deficit? First of all, what is a mid-year projected deficit? On a quarterly basis, the business manager of the school department is required to put together a state mandated form. And in that form, it breaks down the expenditures and the available revenue that a school district has, and the town has to do as well. Those two forms are compiled and then they're sent to the state for its review. However, the business manager, when she compiles this information, gets a clear indication as to whether or not by the end of the year she can project her data to find out what the expenses will be. As to whether or not she's going to overexpend the allocation that's been given to the school committee. As soon as that happens, she has a duty to inform the superintendent of schools. That happened in early January. Under the law, as soon as the superintendent learns, he has to inform the school committee that there is a projected deficit. The object behind those notifications is the General Assembly wants the school committee to act immediately if it looks like by the end of the year they're going to spend more money. The reason behind all these statutes and why these very short time periods are all mandatory as opposed to discretionary is because the state of Rhode Island doesn't want to be involved to the extent it can in coming into a city or a town and having to bail them out. They want the taxpayers to understand the nature of what's necessary to fund. They want to make sure that the money is available to do that. They want to make sure that the school department and the town don't overspend their budget if at all possible. The time frame with this notification is, as soon as the superintendent gives notification to the school committee, they're required to take 2 steps within 5 working days. That's a very short period of time for school committees. The first step, the statute says, is the school committee must immediately take steps to reduce the expenses in their budget. So what does that mean? That means the school committee, as soon as they're notified, has to look at their budget. They have to identify areas based on initial recommendations from the superintendent of what can be cut. And the areas that cannot be cut are areas that are required by contract and areas that are mandated by state law. So all those expenses put aside, then the superintendent school committee has to look at the rest of those and see which ones are available to cut. It's important to note that these cuts can be reversed, but what is required at the school committee meeting, which happened last Wednesday, is the school committee meeting had to cut enough expenses out of the budget to get to a zero, to eliminate the deficit. And since they were statutorily required to do that, that's what they did. The second step is the creation of what is called under the statute a corrective action plan, or a CAP. Within the same 5-day period, the school committee has to come up with a cap. Now that cap can consist of a combination of a request for increased revenue. It also can have a combination of budget cuts, if those are possible and available. Now we already know that the school committee made all its preliminary cuts to get down to zero. A lot of those cuts, as you look for them, are bad. They affect kids, they affect employees, people lose their jobs. They're not good cuts. They're not the kind of things that any school committee would want to do because they both hurt education, they hurt the citizens of the town, and they hurt the employees that work for the town. Not to mention it destroys their morale. Morale is a very important thing in the school system. So the committee created a corrective action plan. The essence of the corrective action plan now is to what degree can we enhance revenue or gain more revenues to pay for the deficit. There's a projected deficit right now of about $470,000. So the goal is to find money, if possible, to fund that budget gap of $470,000. In particular, what we asked the council to do in the corrective action plan is, in the first instance, just give us an additional $470,000, plug our gap, We'll try to work at reducing expenditures if we can over the course of the year, but don't make us lay anyone off. Don't make us cut any services. In our view, we want the fund at us, so please just give us that sum of money so we can move forward. Assuming the council wouldn't do that, we gave them other options to consider. As you go down, each option is less palatable than the first, from a school services point of view. The second option is there's a controversy about $240,000, which I call the sports money controversy. That money's already in the council budget, so the second is request just at least give us the $240,000 and see what we have to cut after that. The third request is the school committee has what we call a carried forward surplus of approximately $350,000. The school committee doesn't have the authority, in my view, to automatically spend that money. We have to ask the council to be able to spend it because we're spending more than our annual appropriation, which is prohibited. So we have a choice. We either have to go to Superior Court, which would be expensive, and ask the court for permission for us to spend that money. Or we could go to RIDE and have a hearing in front of RIDE and ask them for permission. These would cost attorney's fees, time and effort, which I think no one would want to spend. The third is to get permission from the council to do that. That's the least attractive of the three methods for us to get revenue. The reason for that is if we use a carry-forward surplus, we create a structural deficit. Those of you that are familiar with accounting understand what that means, but I'm going to explain that. If you earn $100 a week and your expenses are $110 a week, so you have to go to the bank every single week and take $10 out of your savings account, you've created a deficit situation. Think of that in terms of a $24 million budget and project that into the next year. So next year, if we don't have enough money in our appropriation, we start off the year essentially with a deficit. It's never a good idea to use surplus funds that you've accumulated from the past year to cover a deficit, because you just have to fund it into the future. You need to fix the budget in terms of revenue to fill that gap, because there's going to be no place to go at the bottom of the year. Another thing that's really important to understand is about 7 years ago, the General Assembly passed a statute, and at that time they capped the amount of money that a school district can ask for from its town in a local appropriation. It started at 6% and at 6.5%, and it's cut its way down to 4%. So right now, the most the district can ask in a year from the municipality is a 4% increase. And I'll talk about it in a little while, is if we're level funded every single year or modestly funded every single year, you lose the opportunity to get that 4% increase. And as all of you know from your home budgets, as your regular cost increase, that gap gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you can no longer fund the natural increases in the budget. So that means you have to lay off staff over time and you have to reduce services. And what it results in is a downward spiral of the services that the school district can give to your kids. That's not a desirable place to be in once you start that downward spiral. I'm going to give you some facts later on that shows what the town has done in terms of funding, and you can draw your own conclusions as to whether or not that's beneficial. Another reason why we wouldn't want to use the $350,000 surplus is because a part of that has been earmarked to pay for bond payments, extra payments that are related to utilities and savings that we've got from technology improvements in the utility area. The final issue, or the reason why we wouldn't want to use the surplus, is because there are areas in the budget that are very volatile, very springy. It's possible, for instance, that a special ed child could move into the district with their family. The district is legally required to provide the terms of services that have already been set for that child. In certain circumstances, special ed IEPs can run anywhere from $10,000 to $150,000. They can move into the district without notice. It's your obligation to fund that. You need a fund, an account that has some flexibility in it to be able to pay for that. And to be able to, over the years, figure a way to amortize that into your budget. So if you use this $350,000, the district will have virtually no surplus, no padding, no cushion to account for any of these unexpected items. Also, you know, from your own family budget, there are things that happen every now and then. Boiler goes, utility costs can spike and you didn't anticipate it. If you have your driveway plowed, you have to have it done 15 times in a budget just pays for the expenses that you have every single month. So if we take the $350,000 away from the school committee, it won't be able to do that. So every time it has additional expenditure, it's going to create a controversy, and they're going to have to go to the town council and ask for permission for extra money. That could happen 5, 6, 7, 10 times a year. It creates almost a ridiculous situation. As I mentioned, and I think it's really important to note, is just because the school committee has voted on budget cuts so far, it has the opportunity to change those in the course of the year as it finds other budget cuts. And its intention is to continue to identify cost savings in the budget over the course of the year, and hopefully change any of those budget expenditures that they've eliminated that have a direct impact on the kids and direct impact on services. What other steps can the administration take, and what were the other items that were included in the corrective action plan that was submitted to the town? By the way, that plan by state statute had to be submitted to all the town officials. Additionally, it had to be submitted to the Auditor General, the Department of Municipal Affairs, and the Commissioner of Education. And the intent of that is to draw those officials in to give us technical advice in the event that they can help the town and help the school committee get through this budget year. We'll be meeting with the Assistant Commissioner of Education on Friday to gain some assistance and technical advice from him. I believe the Auditor General has 2 people on his staff that also can render technical assistance as well. But none of them have money in their pockets for us. Really, it's a problem that you have to solve in terms of cash for yourself. So other things that we know that we can do, we can try to reopen up the contract with the unions. We just concluded last year lengthy negotiations with both unions. Frankly, they've given up a lot. Your teaching staff and your non-certified staff do a great job for you. I represent a number of school districts. My firm represents probably 3/4 of the districts in the state. The reason why I say that is because we negotiate a lot of contracts and we know what's fair. We're going to find out at the end of this presentation that the teachers in North Smithfield rank among the lowest in the state in terms of how much you pay them. They do an outstanding job for you. Also, they already agreed to a set of reductions in their benefits. I think it's going to be pretty unlikely they're going to say in the middle of a contract, oh sure, let's give you more because you have this self-created budget deficit. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere, but the superintendent has sent out letters already to both unions. It's voluntary with them as to whether or not they open negotiations. The second is if the town won't give us access to the $240,000 in sports money, we can file an action at RIDE, which the school committee is authorized me to do, to ask them to determine whether or not that money should come to us. We would rather not litigate that issue because it takes time and it takes money. The money should just be turned over to the school district. The third request, and it's provided under the state statute, is we're supposed to ask the Commissioner of Education for what are called waivers and variances. There are some discretionary areas that the school committee acts in. For instance, it has bus monitors on its buses in this district. Under certain circumstances, we can remove bus monitors. Under certain circumstances, we can widen the distance the kids have to walk to school. So we may have to do that to save on transportation charges. One of the things that we talked about was increasing the distance to 2 miles, which is a long distance. But if we need to do that to save the money, that's what the school committee is going to be forced to do. So applying to RIDE for waivers is something we have to do. It's not something that anybody is excited about, because what we'd be asking for would be reducing the services to you all, which isn't really appropriate in the circumstances. The last thing that we would ask is that the commissioner would give the superintendent permission to delay some of his curriculum projects that he has in mind. Those of you that are parents here are familiar with the fact that in 2005, district, along with the rest of the state, is going to undergo a different kind of testing scenario called POP. Every kid in every class, in every grade, is going to be tested, and that data is going to be used to see how well kids do, and also, to some degree, how well teachers teach. In order to do that, curriculum has to be aligned with that test and with the Common Core prior to allowing that concept too. That work hasn't been completed yet in this district, as in most districts in the state. It needs to be completed. One of the ways you can save some money is if you put that off another year. It's not too too intelligent to do that, to be frank, because kids aren't going to be as prepared as they should be for the pop test. So while it would save money, it's really not something that I think the parents would like, and it's not something that the school committee would like. It is an alternative. The last request that this committee made to the town council is apparently there's a controversy as to whether or not the school district has money taken away in pillowcases and other mattresses. It should be clear that they don't, because they undergo an audit with two separate audit agencies every year, and those audits, which are done by CPAs, are not available to the public. There is no hidden money. So in order to eliminate that controversy, what the school committee has asked the town council to do is to go in an immediate RFP and to hire an appropriate accounting firm that has the capacity to do an educational performance audit and a financial audit, and maybe put that issue aside once and for all. I have to tell you, the last district that did that was Smithfield, in the town that I live in. And the town council was very concerned that the school committee wasn't handling the money properly. Some of you may have read in the paper that when that audit firm was done, they said Smithfield was one of the best run districts in the state, and they're very efficient. But what I know about how your office is run here and how much money you spend on things, I think you probably will get the same result. So we're anxious, if the town council really has that concern, to put their feet to the fire and say, go out and do the performance audit. If they can make recommendations where we can do something more efficiently, that's fine, we'll do it. We can save money, we're happy to, but we don't think that that's reasonable. We don't think that it's possible. But we're happy to have that done and undergo that examination. The bad part about performance audit is the cost of the performance audit is going to be a minimum of $45,000 or $50,000 to a maximum of about $100,000. It takes about 4 to 5 months to complete. So recommendations that they give you ordinarily are prospective over a 5-year continuum. So while they always give you some good recommendations, they're not things that generally can be implemented immediately to save you money. But it may give some confidence to the town fathers that the school committee and the superintendent and business manager have done a decent job on this. Now, a lot of people talk about a corrective action plan as if it's a pariah, something that's a negative. From my point of view, because I've been in this situation many times in many school districts, I don't see it as anything other than an opportunity for the district and for the community and the town council. This gives the municipality an opportunity to reconsider whether they've given enough money to education in the district. And you all can play a very important part in that by informing both your school committee and your town council at meetings what you think about the quality of education in this district. It also gives the district the opportunity to review cost settings in the budget and make sure that the money, the superintendent can redouble his efforts to make sure the money is being spent wisely. The superintendent has already started to review the special education budget with his director and an attorney from my office in an effort to look at every single placement to make sure that they're appropriate and kids get the appropriate services, but they're done so in an economical manner. That may result in some savings. And that was one of the big budget busting areas in the deficit. About $390,000, I think it was about $390,000. Not anticipated, of course, in that area. That's going to be addressed a little more. The last thing that a corrective action plan does, and it's as important as the other two, is it gives you an opportunity to decide what quality of education you want in the school district. So I'm in a lot of school districts, and I see a lot of problems in school districts. When I look at North Smithfield, I look at your NECAP scores, and that tells me, as a citizen, as well as an attorney with some experience in this area, that you have the most important thing that any school district needs. You have excellent raw materials, kids. They have the capacity to learn, they have the ability to learn and to achieve, and you have an excellent staff of certified teachers that are willing to teach them. You have the ability in this school district, with the right amount of money, to have a district that rivals Barrington or Lincoln or East Greenwich, because you have good base raw materials. You have the kids that can do it. The question is that what the community wants to fund? Or does it just want to fund the basic elements that you need to run a school district? That's your decision. That's not mine. You have to inform the school committee and the town council of what you want. the crux of the issue, I think, that's in this community and a lot of others that are facing true financial difficulty, and North Smithfield is not one that's in true financial difficulty, is that educational finance issues can be resolved by either the budget board or the town council saying, here's X amount of dollars, it's all you're going to get, make do with it. The reason for that, and why that perspective doesn't work, is parties have to understand that school districts have what I call two masters. They have to look at the town and see how much money the town has in terms of capacity and desire to fund schools. But additionally, their responsibility, because school committees are created by the state of Rhode Island, is to listen to what the General Assembly says. The General Assembly has all kind of unfunded mandates and requirements that this school district has to meet, which means they have to be funded. So if it's the budget board or the town council's position that all we're going to give you is X, and X isn't sufficient dollars to achieve what this district is required to do, it has to follow every single statutory step to make sure that it is abiding by the law. And that leads to unfortunate and expensive consequences. It's much better if everybody gets together, recognize the actual needs of the district, and appropriately fund them. One other point that I think is often lost is that the law that requires the school committee to act in a certain way also requires the town to adequately fund education. It's not a question of living within a balanced budget. There are plenty of cases in this state that require that school districts have, whatever is necessary to adequately fund education has to be funded by the town. It's the town's primary responsibility, like it or not. Those are the rules of the game the General Assembly has set, and those are the rules we all have to follow. So it's not a question really, in my mind, of let's make sure there's no tax increase, which really was the stated goal of the budget board last year when we looked at the school committee budget. It's what does it take to adequately fund education as the first step, and then we go from there in terms of what is the impact of that. That's everybody's statutory responsibility. Everybody who's elected takes an oath of office when they get in, and they're required to uphold the laws of the state of Rhode Island as well as the United States. That's one of the laws they have to abide by. It doesn't have anything to do with politics, doesn't have to do with anything with educational funding, it has to do with your statutory responsibility as an elected office. And that has to be paid attention. Sorry for being on it so long. Three quick examples that come to my mind that indicate to me that perhaps the municipality isn't experienced enough to understand the nuances of the budget, school committee budget. The first is a really particular charter section that you have that requires the school committee and the superintendent to develop a budget and give it to the school committee very early in the year. By December next year? Yes. By December comes. Now, I think the thought is to someone who's uneducated, you can get the budget early, we can look at it early. But if you think about the fact that the budget runs not on a December fiscal basis, but really a mid-year fiscal basis. It runs from July to June. There are a lot of expenses that a school district can't accurately reflect or understand in November when they have to put their budget together. So what does that mean? That means that any area that has instability potentially has great instability. Special education is a good example. Special education had to be underestimated because estimates were made based on the data they had in November and December. Well, come March and April, you find out that that data isn't as good. It's too late at that point to get more accurate data. Once the budget is passed, you have no opportunity really to use that data to increase the budget amounts. It's a real issue. As far as I know, in your district, in your town, you have the earliest requirement to give information. Early data in budgets is usually bad data. That's something that has to be changed. Second, and this was really disconcerting to me, that the town administrator recently released an email, and there was one out to the press, and there was a surprise expressed that the budget could possibly be in a deficit 5 months into the year, especially when a balanced budget was presented by the school committee. In fact, what happened last year is that the school committee wanted to submit a budget to the budget committee that had an increase far in excess of 4%. And 4% was the cap of what they could ask for from the local appropriation. So they submitted the budget to the budget board, not expecting to get a 7 or 8% increase, but to give the budget board and the town council an understanding of a lot of educational needs that have not been met in the district. That was rejected. The requirement was, we're not going to accept anything but a 4% increase. So the school committee did its work and cut the budget. It's in a new budget with a 4% increase. You all know how much the appropriation was increased by last year. 0. So the school committee states as best it can that it probably needs 7 or 8% to do its job. It'll accept 4%. The town council and the budget board decide 0. It should not be a surprise. It's inconceivable that anybody would be surprised if we run a deficit this year. You are asking for a deficit essentially with the adoption of no increase over the last year's budget. The third thing that I found really curious is I was involved early in the process last year between some controversy between the budget board and the superintendent's office where they were asking for financial aid. And what I found to be very odd is the budget board was asking for strict compliance with the town charter. The town charter has a very peculiar way that it wants financial data format, which I hope changes. The school committee submitted it based on what we call the UCOA standards. UCOA standards are state-required standards, accounting standards, that all school committees have to abide by. It's called the Uniform Chart of Accounts. The reason why all school committees have to abide by it is it gives RIDE, the Department of Education, and other school districts and business people the opportunity on more apples-to-apples comparison to determine whether or not a school district is spending too much money in a particular category, salaries, benefits, special education services. And it gives a meaningful comparison basis. The budget board didn't want that information. The budget board wanted it in a format that wasn't conducive to doing comparisons. So it's really difficult to see how a fair comparison was made to other districts, if one was. And I suspect that it was more like, how much money did we spend last year? How much it increased? Do we really have to give them any money this year? Rather than what's necessary, which is very detailed, zero budget-based analysis. What does the school district need to run itself and to achieve a certain goal in a given year? And that's really something that needs to be done on a going-forward basis. But the best I can know from my involvement, that's really not what happened. So some important facts I'd like you to know about. The first, the fiscal year 13, the fiscal year we're in right now, most of you noticed that your taxes didn't go up. You're really only one of 4 communities in that category that actually had a reduction in rate, both in your commercial and residential. This was pulled from municipal authority. Additionally, we've been informed that Smithfield actually received approximately $1 million plus in additional revenue. Not 1 penny of that additional revenue, tax revenue, went from the school district last year. Over the last 5 years, the town council has really not only funded inadequately in some years, but in many circumstances erratically. 2 of the years there was a 0 increase, including the present year. 1 year there was 0.4% increase. When Steve showed me that, I said, really? 0.4%? Why bother? What was the point of that? Is it to buy an extra light bulb? In 1 year there was a 2% increase. In 1 year there was a 4% increase. As I mentioned before, for last year there was no increase. You can't run a business with that kind of erratic revenue in planning. It's just not possible. The school district is the biggest chunk of the town, and it spends the most amount of money. For those of you that are private business owners, imagine if your revenue gyrated like that year to year, and you were trying to plan how to expand and build your business and hire people to do what you need to do. It's a virtual impossibility. I also went to UCOA, which I mentioned before, and I pulled out some data for you to look at.
Excuse me.
Yes?
How much longer a minute or
About a minute and a half. districts that are similar to you in terms of number of students and demographically. Narragansett, North Smithfield, Situate, Tiverton, and Exeter West Greenwich. In terms of teacher pay, North Smithfield teachers are not overpaid. There are 7 categories in COLA, and 6 out of the 7, they're among the lowest on a per student basis paid in the state of Rhode Island. On a per student basis, the district spends about $13,790 on students. Among those other peer districts, the average is $17,454 per student. North Smithfield spends about 79 cents on each student for every dollar that these other districts spend. What does that tell me? That tells me at the very least the district is a very careful spender. They do a good job with every penny they get. It's up to you to decide whether or not that's adequate. So we'll have to decide. You have to decide whether or not you're going to use that corrective action plan as an opportunity to move forward and to change the direction of the district, and to what degree you want to fund it. Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to introduce Business Manager Lisa Marcotte and Director of Pupil Personnel Sue Raffin to clarify an issue related to unanticipated special education funding. Lisa.
Good evening. Throughout this year, and also most recently, when I presented information relating to this year's financial status, I've been updating you on out-of-district special ed placements. In my updates, I refer to unanticipated tuitions. It has been brought to our attention that the term unanticipated was misleading. I apologize for any confusion this has caused and would like to take a moment to clarify the term unanticipated. When we use the term unanticipated can mean any one of the following. A rate increase that comes in higher than the budgeted tuition for any placement facility. We typically receive rate increases in July and August after the budget is already in place. Tuitions for newly placed students or students that are new to the district. Students that started the year on a placement and experienced an unexpected tuition change and or an increase due to changes in services or the level of services being provided. Students placed by DCYF. And lastly, a student with an out-of-district placement that was placed in a different facility with a different tuition rate and associated services. Again, I apologize for any confusion that this has caused, and thank you for allowing me the time to clarify. I'll turn it over to Suzanne to provide you with a brief update on those current placements.
Currently, we have 17 students that are considered unanticipated. And as Lisa explained to you, that could be a number of different things. In breaking down the list, I found that 5 of those students were students that the previous PPS director had anticipated they would be returning to the district, and for one reason or another did not. 4 of them are new students that were new out-of-district placements. 3 of them were budgeted prior, but actually the placements were done after the budget was done. And then 5 of them, there was a change in placement, which could mean that they were changed to another location, or their level of service could have increased at a certain time. But that would give us a total of 17 unanticipated tuitions.
Any questions on
Yeah, what does that add up to? A total dollar figure for those 17 kids that
Hang on.
you're saying?
The total dollar figure would be $387,097.
Any questions on Mrs. Marcotte, Mrs. Tucker? No? All right, I just want to bring everybody up to speed as to where I've had conversations based on Monday's apparently town council meeting. I received an email from a citizen in town that had requested an immediate meeting be called between myself, the town administrator, town council president, and the school superintendent. I actually thought the email was right on, spot on. So on Tuesday, I had sent an email to Mrs. Hamilton and Mr. Flaherty indicating that I have requested an immediate meeting town administrator, myself, the school superintendent, at the office of the superintendent as soon as possible so we can get the resolve on the short-term basis, on a logical and common sense basis, and move forward on next year's budget and capital on behalf of all the residents and children of North Smithfield. And I asked them, please advise me as soon as possible as to when you'd be willing to meet. We'll have no problem beginning Thursday morning, as I feel we can resolve the short term immediately. I received a response at 5:40 that evening from Mr. Clardy indicating he's very interested in arranging a meeting. However, he wanted to have a much broader group of individuals. He wanted members of the budget committee, members of the council, finance directors. Frankly, I think that the original email that I received from this individual resident was spot on. The smaller number of people, the better. I think we've had enough going on between bigger groups that don't resolve anything. So I think the 4 people that can resolve it, especially the chairs and presidents of the council and the school committees, can certainly have the authority and the wherewithal to have the confidence, knowing they full well that they can go back to their respective boards and say, you know what, we got a deal here. So with that, Mr. Flaherty was insistent that the budget committee representatives be there, CPAs, and everybody and his uncle was going to be there. And frankly, I think it would be a disservice because I believe that we as elected officials and as adults, as I was pointed out to in the email, that we were smart enough and logical enough to come to a conclusion without having everybody in the same room, because I hate to say, no disrespect to the attorneys in the room. However, having 5 attorneys in one room, we get 5 different opinions. So in my opinion, the 4 people, I think we could have resolved, I think we can still resolve this. And my commitment is still to have that meeting tomorrow morning, ASAP, to have it resolved. Yes?
It was my understanding that the cuts are supposed to go into action tomorrow morning. Is that true?
We're going to get into that with Mr. Lindbergh's comments he's next. Okay? Very good point.
Sure. So, my understanding in terms of my responsibility, as outlined by Mr. Scungio, is last Wednesday I presented a corrective action plan, yet still had more reductions to make. The school committee voted on that and approved it, knowing that we would have to come back in 5 days, and this is the 5th day, to then vote again because I had more reductions to come up with. I had said last Wednesday that those reductions, and I was guided by the attorney, that they had to be immediate. He spoke tonight about that. Couldn't be delayed, they had to happen within 5 days. So to that end, for instance, tonight we take action on layoffs. Those layoffs would start February 7th. We took action on other budget reduction measures last Wednesday that went into effect. One is sports. Spring sports don't start till March. So there's a month to remedy it if we can find or restore the funds. There are extracurricular activities. The stipends didn't get eliminated because all of the advisors had already been doing that work. The only stipend that I believe got eliminated, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, was the school committee stipend for the second half of the year. Those activities still can go on, but there were funds in the building-based budgets for transportation or other things. Those are frozen. Those are frozen at this point in time. So the activities can still take place, but funds for transportation or anything else, those budgets are frozen. It's part of our immediate action steps that we had to take to come up with $474,000. So those are in place. The layoffs will start a week from Friday. We'll take action on them tonight. What else? Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Do you want to make a recommendation at this time, or do you want to wait until we hear from both?
It doesn't matter. I think people are waiting to speak. I have no choice but to make a recommendation that I have to make.
All right.
So if you want, I can make it now and go forward.
All right, we'll move forward with the good welfare portion. I've got 2 sheets here, so anybody that did not sign in, Those wishing to speak that I did name, just raise their hand after the list is read off and then those folks have spoken. First one is Vivian Dubois. Who's that? Okay. We can always go back if she's not available now. Bridget Hall.
Do I need to state my address with my name, or is that not necessary?
It's not necessary.
Oh, awesome, okay. Hello, my name is Bridget Hall, and I'm addressing these remarks to the Town Council, the School Committee, the Superintendent, and the Town Administrator here. My name is Bridget Hall, and I am a two-season Northern athlete, president of the band, an officer of the class of 2014, and a proud member of the National Honor Society, Peer Pals, math team, jazz band, symphonic band, and chamber force. On Monday evening, I attended a town council meeting where my classmates and I expressed our frustration and disappointment at our town and school officials for a failure to compromise that has led to the proposal of devastating budget cuts. The next day, Superintendent Lindbergh came to my school and addressed the seniors about the details of the cuts. In both cases, we were told to be patient. Be patient, for in the coming weeks and months, you will find a solution. I am here today to ask, why do I have to be patient? Why do I have to be patient? The financial situation of our town and our schools is not a surprise to anybody. Budget battles have gone back and forth since my freshman year, and that was 4 years ago. Why haven't you found a workable, solid solution before now? What stopped you? Why should we have to be patient? Why should it take weeks and months to compromise? Because compromise is the foundation on which our nation and our government is built. It is a guiding principle of democracy. Constituents elect officials with the expectation that they will compromise and get things done on their behalf. Why is compromise then so hard? Why should we be patient? While we waited for you to make this decision, I missed a math. I spent countless hours that I should be spending on schoolwork, worrying about the future of my senior year, and spent hours trying to reach out to you and the town council and the town administrator and the superintendent to get to work and fix this problem. To those who responded to me, thank you very much. While I am patient, I will miss my chance to participate in the National Honor Society due to the cancellation of extracurricular activities. I will miss my chance to run in the newly formed track club due to the cancellation of spring sports. I will miss band and choral festival, the pinnacle of the year in band and chorus class where we earn the accolades that give this town its stellar reputation. I will miss out on learning when a teacher's sick because there will be no substitutes in the classroom. I will miss out on my last spring concert, an event which I have waited to participate in fully since I was a child. I will lose some of my favorite teachers to other school districts. Lastly, I will miss out on the crowning event of my school career, my chance to walk across the stage with my classmates together for the final time, receive a diploma, and graduate. Why do we have to be patient while you fight amongst yourselves? Why do we have to be patient while you use us as pawns? Why do we have to patiently suffer through your lack of leadership? I ask you today to stop pointing fingers. Stop blaming everyone else for the problems. Work together and solve this problem. Solve it now so that I don't have to be patient and watch the best moments of the final months of my senior year are lost. Thank you very much for your time.
Next speaker, I assume, is related to Robin Hall.
Hi, my name is Robin Hall.
grueling process of applying to college. I have witnessed up close as they have applied every single year for dozens of scholarships to try to make college more affordable to my family. What continually sets them apart from the thousands of other students applying for the same positions is their extracurricular activities. These extracurricular activities have shaped them into the people they need to become in order to be successful in our society. When we compete and place nationally for our Limited People competition, we learn the meaning of self-confidence. When we compete and place first with our band and chorus, we learn what it means to give 110% effort in order to achieve our goals. When we work together with our teams and our sports, we learn the meaning of teamwork. We learn what it means to work together, which will eventually lead to more important things in life. When it is my turn to apply to colleges, what am I going to say? What am I going to put on my application for my colleges? Please don't take away me and my classmates' chance to be set apart. Please do not take away our chance to be successful. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Brady Pendergast.
Hello, my name is Brady Pendergast, and I'm a 7th grade student at NSMS. I'm a Special Olympic athlete and was honored to be the captain of my middle school unified basketball team. I am here with my friends Matt Brothers, Zachary Harrell, and Tyler Cook and Julia Kastanovich. Unified taught me how to make new friends and how to win and lose. Unified has also made me realize that no matter what your abilities are, it's the chance to still participate and interact in the games with my peers, or Tyler and Julia, and friends. Please don't take away our dream, especially when it doesn't cost you a penny, Mr. Lindbergh. Please tell me why you would cut this. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and have a great night.
Kristen Fontaine, 79 Colorado.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Fontaine, and I'm the Vice President of the senior class. Due to a looming deficit, the proposed budget cuts were made in an attempt to save money while not interfering with our education. However, these budget cuts harm our education tremendously. Extracurriculars, sports, and music, to name a few, form the culture of our schools. Personally, I am heavily involved in music, belonging to the jazz band and serving as the Vice President of the band. I am President of the French Club and President of National Honor Society. Through my participation in these activities, I have not only learned more about myself, but also about my classmates, creating relationships with them that transfer into the classroom and allow for a more personalized, intriguing, and extensive education. Suspending free run to graduation and senior award night, which my classmates and I have worked so hard our whole lives for, and we are definitely just as deserving, if not more deserving, than any other class to be honored equally for our incredible efforts. Suspending freeze would also prevent schools from buying materials such as paper, art supplies, and even toilet paper. Let that sink in. While our school's teachers and administrators are more than amazing, our educational opportunities have been declining for years. This year, I had no choice but to take 2 online classes because we had no money to run the classes I signed up for. And these online classes do not even compare in quality to real classes. With a school system with this many problems, who's going to actually want to live in this town? The value of our beloved town is being ruined. People's careers and lives are being ruined. And most of all, our education is being ruined. All we're asking for you to do is work together and compromise with your fellow town officials to show just as much unity as us students are showing to you today, and to care about the quality of our education just as much as we do, because we are the future of your town. We need to stop passing blame to everyone else and just compromise and take action. It is completely unfair that our education is at the whim of your political games. Thank you for your time.
Christina Lima.
Good evening, everyone. Christina Lima, 1356 Misaka Hill Road. I'm just up here to address athletics in general, and especially unified basketball as a volunteer, helping out at the middle school, also defending the high school with unified sports. I'm just not quite understanding why it's being cut if it's being funded with grants. I personally spoke to 2 individuals from Special Olympics today. I've been doing a lot of research, Chris Hopkins, Jerry Dandino, and it's not costing the middle school a penny to run unified basketball this year. And to just automatically tell these kids, no, we're not doing it, no, it's not being funded, they're crushed, they're crushed. If you truly walk around the school and understand these kids, understand where they come from, understand that simply putting them on a basketball court, on a volleyball court, allowing them to play with other students, other peers, changes their life, changes everything that they do. It starts up here on the triangle, mental and emotional, and everything else falls into place. You pull that away from them, they know, they feel it. And with that said, North Smithfield Middle School, North Smithfield High School, kudos to the high school, also all the high school athletes, coaches here, are both considered premier and model schools in Project Unified in the entire state of Rhode Island. I don't know how many of you know that, but both middle school and high school are the model programs for Unified. Two last things, because I can talk forever, and I apologize, is just, I'm sure people know in the high school, but I know I didn't know this in the middle school. North Smithfield High School, as a student, who I personally had in the middle school, she's the youngest student who represents Unified Sports. She's the head of the Youth Activation Committee, traveling around the world starting next year to promote Unified Sports. She will travel out of the country to promote the importance of why we should have Unified Sports, what it does for kids, what it does for their peers, what it does for the athletes. And last but not least, before I leave everyone, just one quote that I actually had a friend help me we researched a little bit today. Senator Pell, your budget reflects your values. If our students were truly valued, their superintendent should have their back no matter what situation they're in. No disrespect to you, Mr. Lindbergh. I work very hard. Everyone else in the school works hard. But when we're told that, oh, thank you for what you do, it means nothing to us when our kids are not supported. Thank you. Have a great night.
Nancy.
Hello, my name is Rachel Menzie. I'm a senior here at the high school as well as a member of our school improvement team, Vice President of National Honor Society, Treasurer of Student Council, and a student intern for the Rhode Island Department of Education. The opportunities that directly applicable to my future plans of being a teacher. Our school's extracurricular activities are an integral part of our school's educational culture. Band, chorus, and clubs foster school pride and unite us as students, as faculty, as parents, and most importantly, as a community. I've been in this school district for 13 years, and up until recently, I've been completely proud to say that my experiences here have shaped who I am today. I'm constantly volunteering. I've been elected to leadership positions. I work at a local restaurant, and I've attended several school committee meetings. I'm a contributing member of this community. Our teachers have done what they can with the bare minimum for far too long, and now you're asking your students to do the same. You've been chipping away at our school's culture for years now, little by little, and sacrificing our education. Here's the reality. Teachers who work extremely hard to organize trips, professional development opportunities, will now be unable to seize all that could enrich hundreds of students' minds. Secretaries who engage with us on a daily basis and ensure that details, no matter how small, are covered, and they will no longer be able to do so. Soon our best teachers, our staff, and our administration are going to leave our district. The positive relationships I've made between other students and faculty and coaches cannot be communicated on paper. The bare minimum for our school system is simply unacceptable. True, the bare minimum is not denying us our education. We have a BEP, but the truth is, you're slowly diminishing its richness. As students, we need the tools, we need the materials, and we need the resources, and most importantly, we need the funding necessary in order to ensure our success as adults, as we strive to meet the academic demands of the 21st century. We should not be exposed to this hostile culture. You may not be our parents, but we are still your children, as we are the children of this town. We are the sons and daughters of your children, of your family, of your friends, of your coworkers, and of your neighbors. Our community is small, but it is our family. I'm confident that you will reconsider the decisions you're making based off of numbers alone and consider how those decisions will impact the members of your community, of your family. Thank you for listening, and I sincerely hope our collective voices will make a difference.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Rowe, and I'm part of many things at this school. But most importantly is I am an active student at Smithfield High School. Now, I didn't write a speech today. I didn't feel it was necessary because everything I am about to say to you is genuine and exactly how I feel. The students sitting in front of you today all care. The students that couldn't get a ride here but wish they could, they all care. Your job as a school committee, and as a superintendent, and as members of the town, is to fight for their success. Success as students, success as workers, and success as members of the community. Many teachers, due to these budget cuts, will also be laid off. Fight for their success as teachers. Fight for what they do, the great things that they do, to shape the minds of America and of North Smithfield, Rhode Island. My challenge to you is to do what everyone else has basically said to you before. Compromise. Sit down at the town council, sit down with the budget committee, and do something to make sure that this situation doesn't happen. Do something that makes us a source of pride in Rhode Island and a source of pride in America. Do something that, the national government still hasn't done to this day. Compromise and do something great so that way you don't get all these angry people coming to your town school. Do something that will make everybody happy, including yourselves. Many of you have students and children that something that will bring in their success, to do something that will make everybody in the town proud. Thank you.
Michael Cicero.
Good evening. My name is Michael Cicerone, and I am the president of the senior class. Before I begin, I would like to ask members of the senior class who are present tonight to please stand up and remain standing. Thank you. Graduation, along with prom and a handful of extracurricular activities, is one of the few events everyone remembers about their high school career. The students of the class of 2014 have worked harder than any other class to meet the standards and earn their diploma. We were the first class where kneecap testing actually counted as a graduation requirement, which meant we had to get at least partially proficient on testing areas including reading, writing, math, and science. We are also working to complete a senior project, which requires us to complete 15 hours of field work in a specific area of study related to the project, on our own time, on our weekends, on our time off from school. Also, we are required to write an 8-page research paper on the topic of the workload, an 8-page research paper on top of the workload in every other class. Finally, we are required to present our findings and experiences of the senior project to a panel of judges. These are the faces of the hardest working students this school system has ever seen. We have been jumping through hoops these past 4 years to meet the graduation requirements that you have all set for us, and we have done our job. My fellow classmates and I have been working as hard as we can to complete these stressful and ever-changing graduation requirements. We deserve a graduation ceremony that is equal to the ones that came before us, and I truly believe that we are the hardest working senior class to come through this system. Students, you can be seated. Thank you. Now I ask the parents and guardians of the seniors that are here tonight to please stand up as well. These parents have seen their children transform from boys and girls to mature young men and women, ready to take the next step in their lives. Whether it is college, prep school, enlisting in the military, or entering the road of formal education, these are the parents and guardians who will continue to keep a close eye on their children. My parents, like most other parents, have sacrificed weeks, if not months, of their lives at sporting events, music concerts, and extracurricular activities, and have watched me grow into the young man I am today. And I know they loved every minute of it, along with every other parent that is here tonight. I know my parents are not alone because so many students partake in numerous activities in which their parents attend, because the parents of this town care. Parents in this town want to see their kids be successful. Graduation is a ceremony not just for the seniors, but it is for the parents and guardians who have watched their kids grow into young adults. With our families watching, the entire senior class deserves to cross the stage, throw our caps up in the air, and celebrate success and hard work with our families and fellow classmates. We appreciate your attention to the situation and hope you acknowledge how deserving our class is of graduation equal to the classes before us. Thank you.
Michael Reading.
Hi folks, Mike Regan, 10 Railroad Street. I have 4 kids in town. I have 2 sets of twins. I have 11-year-old twins and 8-year-old twins. And I will tell you off the bat, I have 4 that have IEPs. My first thought through all of this is the posturing between the 2 councils, town council and school committee, is crazy. The bigger issue here is, several years ago, Mr. Lindbergh put on a presentation, and he had numbers up and discussed issues, and one of the issues is, there's not enough money. As we keep going forward, we continue to kick the can down the road and put a Band-Aid on the wound. The wound gets bigger. The posturing of, whether you want to call it threatening to cancel sports, busing, whatever term you want to use. I want to use a different term, but I can't. And those of you who know me know I would use that different term. This is completely crazy to me. The bigger question I have for everybody involved in this, from our town administrator all the way down, show me a plan that's going to solve this problem for the rest of our lives. If that is telling the state, take the short walk off the long walk, take the long walk off the short pier, who's going to do it, guys? There's not enough money in the future. And the future's not in 5 years, the future's today. So my only question again, at some point in time, can someone come up with a plan that shows us how this is going to work? Thank you.
Jesse Alvarado?
Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm a unified player, and I'm disappointed because of unified. They're trying to cut it, and I feel bad for all the special need kids because they're taking away all the stuff for the special need kids. And also, I don't want all my favorite teachers leaving. And I don't want them to get fired or something like that. Especially the janitors, I love Mo. And all the band teachers, I don't want them to leave. And that's mostly it.
It looks like we have a brother-sister tandem. I don't know if you want to speak individually. It's Scott and Megan Maratia.
Hello. My name is Scott Meritier. I live on Knoll Ridge Drive in town. My family's relatively new to town. We've been here just 3 years, but as I sit and listen to all the feedback from the students, I think that they've articulated their feelings pretty well, and from the coaches and the parent that we heard so far, I think I speak for all of us, but a couple of things I just wanted to point out in case they weren't already apparent, and that's, from my perspective, you folks have a tremendous responsibility in front of you. If you look at the student body, from the elementary school to the middle school to the high school, if you think back to the words of your counsel earlier on, the molding of these kids and the raw materials that you've got to work with have put the town on the map and put the schools on the map with regard to your overall scores and the performance on these various tests and things that you've done. And if these budget cuts are allowed to continue, not only are you severely handicapping your secondary school, but also the middle school kids, because they're not going to have an opportunity to do any of these extracurricular things that set them apart. Another thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose these kids. As a relatively new person in town, we recently inserted our kids into the public system because it's been so outstanding. And I have children at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And we put them in the local school so they can be a part of the fabric of the town and take advantage of these great things that you offer. If you take these things away, you're going to lose these kids because they're going to go to different schools for those that can, and you're going to lose the best and brightest. The second thing that's going to happen is the families that can are going to relocate to surrounding towns. So this student body and this family base that you've got is going to disintegrate. From a business perspective, if you look at the financials and the numbers that have been presented earlier, and you look at all of the math, it seems apparent that perhaps the challenge is at the town level, and truly you're not getting the funding that you need. If that's the case, from a business perspective, I've got a couple of observations. The first is that you should absolutely not push forward with the performance RFP. That's going to be a stall tactic by the town, and it's going to result in a wasting of at least 25% of the deficit you have now if you went to the $100,000 fee that we expect and we know that would run there. The second thing that's going to happen is, lost my train of thought. The other thing that I would suggest is that from a creativity perspective, as we know from state and federal politics, there's always a way to do what you need to do. So as you look at this sports money, as you look at the carry forward budget, while those numbers may not be available to you in totality, perhaps there's a way to negotiate a portion of them so that at the end of the day, perhaps you don't fulfill the deficit entirely, but perhaps you get a portion of the monies that you need. And I can't stand before you and tell you what program is more important than another, but starting with the academic programs first, you save what you can save with the money you've got. And if that's the best you can do, then at least it's something. But to let the rest of this year evaporate before you and go to RFP or go to additional deliberations not only kills your senior class, but it also severely impairs the rest of the students. So just from a parental perspective, from a business perspective, some additional things that I've thought about. Thank you.
Grace Williams.
Hello, my name is Grace Vanoia, and I am a senior at Smithfield High School. I am the vice president of the math team, member of National Honor Society, the girls cross country team, and the chorus. Recently, I got accepted into college, and it was the highlight of my senior year. Without these extracurriculars, it would not have been possible. Good test scores and grades will not get you to college anymore. Today, we were supposed to go to a math meet in Burrville. Unfortunately, we couldn't attend it because getting a bus costs money the district doesn't have. If these cuts go into effect, the school will no longer be able to fund National Honor Society. While being a member is very attractive to colleges, we also help others. We host a talent show in June to raise money for an individual in need. We host an empty bowl supper to raise money for the hungry. As a freshman, I was not a runner, nor did I have very many friends. When I joined cross country my sophomore year, I became more social, and my high school experience improved immensely. Due to these budget cuts, strength sports are getting cut, which will negatively impact many student athletes. Lastly, being a part of the chorus has changed my life. I joined in 7th grade. By the time I finished middle school, I could not wait to be in the high school chorus. Through the music program, I have grown as a student and a musician, and it has also given me numerous unforgettable experiences. In my sophomore year, we went to Hershey Parks. Last year, we went to New York City. This year, we're going to Walt Disney World. We would not be able to go on these trips without such talented and dedicated directors. Also, 2/3 of the high school is involved in music. This number would not be nearly as high if the middle school music program was cut. In fact, I might not have been as inclined to join chorus in the high school had I not had enjoyable experiences in middle school. Music is a part of our school culture. You can walk in the doors of a brand new student and learn in a day how important music is to us. I'm sure you've all walked in and you saw all of our trophies and achievements that we get at numerous festivals. All of these programs and extracurriculars I've discussed have not only helped me get to my first choice college, but also shaped my high school experience. On behalf of my peers, we expect our representatives to resolve their differences and fix this issue immediately. Thank you for your time.
Meeting Maritime.
are taking away what we've worked for. We do so well on our report cards, and as we learn every year in the DCAP assemblies we have, as we go higher and higher in the ranks in our state. We do so well, not for the grade on our report card, but because of the things that we get in return, because of our motivation. If you take away what we're working for, then we won't work as hard. It's like working, you can't expect an adult to work without getting paid. You can't expect us to work if we don't get anything in return. We're doing our jobs, we're coming to school every day, we're working hard, we're paying attention, we're being respectful to teachers. We're doing our jobs that you've taught us to do as students. And all I want to know is why aren't you doing your jobs? Why aren't you working to save what we need for our futures? Thank you.
Bernie Walter. Steve Vowles. Steve.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Superintendent, members of the school committee. My name is Steve Bowles. I live at 370 North Main Street in North Smithfield. I moved to town on October 14th of 2004, small children. Came here on the recommendation of several friends of ours and family members who live in this town, and had the benefit of experiencing the school system. Shortly thereafter, I got involved with a lot of the goings-on in town with respect to the school department, school administration, building a middle school. From that time up until now, I've seen the relationship between the town council and the school committee fracture more and more every year. There's been different school committee members over the years, different town council members over the years, there's been different town administrators over the years. But unfortunately, we've witnessed the same things over and over again every year. Deep down, I knew this day was going to come where we got to the point where we are today. I think like all of us, I hope that it wouldn't get to this point, but unfortunately it has. My biggest disappointment is the last year and a half to 2 years of what I've seen go on. There's a majority of the town council, there's a town administrator, and there's a chairman of the budget committee that are on nothing less than I can compare to a witch hunt, for lack of a better term. The school administration and the school committee, in my estimation, have been very patient and are better people than I am, because I would have taken the gloves off a long time ago. Having said that, I'm all for the RFP for an audit. And if the town council doesn't act on it, that awful word of Crusoe Act, I suggest we take that action. You folks have all voted for the RFP. You're behind it. Why hasn't the town acted on it? At the end of the day, as a friend of mine said the other night, somebody's lying. An audit will prove that. All their bluff. Make it happen. My money is on you people.
Catherine West.
cross-country, basketball, and softball. I'm also a member of a few clubs here at the high school. I'm a member of Peer Pals, Letterman's Club, and I'm part of the Women's Choir. Over the years, I've learned many lessons and met many new people through the extracurricular activities that have given me many opportunities. Some of the opportunities I've received are being captain of the cross-country team at both my junior and senior year. Through athletics, I was recently able to attend a leadership conference based on athletics at Stonehill College. And from there, I was able to help create the Rhode Island Interscholastic League Executive Board, and I'd have the opportunity to sit on that board. Here, I make decisions statewide based on athletics. And without athletics, I would have never had this opportunity to be on this board. And if you cut athletics, people at the school who are, want to be on that board, they won't have the same opportunity that I have, and I would like to see one day someone else from North Smithfield sit on that board. Athletics has been a big part of my high school career, and I cannot imagine not being able to participate in my last season. And I'm sure my peers wouldn't like to see their seasons or their extracurriculars cut as well. Thank you.
Joanne Pollock.
Hi, I'm the parent of a sophomore honor roll student and an athlete, and also a parent of a special needs fifth grader. But on a side note, I am a physical therapist that works as a related service provider in another district. And at the beginning of the evening, we've listened to the town lawyer repeatedly talk about this CAP, this corrective action plan, and how it could help and resolve the issues. I have a proposal that I've brought forth previously and have been shot down on how we can change the direction of the district. In order to fix the budget, to create revenue, we need to have no more out-of-district placement. Except for a unique situation. In the district that I work in, everybody's there. We have the most severe students that are in, as well as the top students. I'm in Foster, Gloucester, and Situate right now. And not only do we owe it to these students to have them here in our school system, we also would resolve these astronomical amounts of dollars that you people are saying that it costs for out-of-district placement. What a lot of people don't realize here too is that if the child is Medicaid eligible, you do get 60% back from the state for those services, for the therapy. Granted, you're still paying the 40%. Now, I realize initially it's going to cost the town some money. We're going to have to hire more teachers, more teacher assistants, and more specialists or therapists. But in the long run, it's going to solve your problem. I've been in this town now for almost 17 years. I've been a related service provider for 29 years, and I also work in another medical setting providing physical therapy. And I repeatedly hear this about these bills, and rather about these deficits. And it also creates a stigma that people think, oh, special ed, that's where all of our money is going towards. That's not it, and it can be resolved. We need to bring these kids, these students, back into this district and provide the services here in town rather than shipping them out. Believe me, I take my child for a lot of outpatient services. I use my insurance and go to Meeting Street and other places. And I'm going to tell you something. We can do just as good a job here as they do at Meeting Street, the Collaborative, and all these other places. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, too, when we talk about busing and eliminating bus monitors, what happens on the elementary school level is a lot of the special needs kids, if it's not designated a real necessity, a real true necessity, then we're getting them off of the minibus and putting them on the regular bus to save a significant amount of money. And when we do that, we strongly rely on not just the bus driver, but that bus monitor to be able to make that child fit on a regular ed bus. If you pull the bus monitors off the buses, what do you think is going to happen to all these kids, my son included, who's in 5th grade? They're not going to be able to ride the regular buses. They're going to be back on the minibus, which is going to cost you how much money? You guys know how much a minibus costs per student. So I strongly would advise not to get rid of the bus monitors, especially on the elementary school level. Not to mention all the other safety issues for typical students as well. Thank you.
Robin Simone. Abigail Vaughn.
On behalf of my fellow classmates in saying this whole budget problem is confusing. There are about 400 kids in my school and they aren't getting what they need. There are kids with family problems and school problems that they have to deal with every day. Some kids have special needs or disabilities. In most cases, these kids get bullied by other kids, which is even harder on them. They need to be able to talk to someone about these problems like a social worker. I was recently told that the social workers are working half-time because our budget doesn't allow us to pay them full-time. These kids will start falling behind in school because they didn't have anyone to talk to. We have a half-time librarian too, which we share with the high school. We can't keep doing this. We should be able to go to the library and talk to the social worker when needed, but we can't because our budget can't afford those things. Something has to be done about our budget. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Katie Hall.
Our students have done so phenomenally well representing this community. It would be a waste of oxygen if we didn't add anything to what you people have already done.
Bill Mandel.
Awesome job, students. Brady, I know you left. Had a tear in my eye listening to him. The student that I believe somebody was referring to is Allie Gould. Allie Gould played hockey for me while I was coaching. We decided to take on the Special Olympics and be fans in the stands. And our team on the day of a very important game boarded a bus, went down the Yagu Valley, and stood on a ski slope for 5 hours as fans in the stands to cheer for Special Olympic athletes. I get emotional talking about this because if you watch Special Olympic athletes, if you watch these unified kids play, they participate in athletics for the purest reason. They are the purest athletes I've ever watched participate in athletics. A lot of us do it for the glory, for the wins, for the records. These kids do it because they love to be on a team. And Allie Gould, at the following day, which, by the way, we left after 5 hours in the snow, went out and won a game that allowed us to make the playoffs that year. We were losing 4-1 at the end of the first period. A couple kids got up and spoke about, in the locker room at the end of the second period, that we could be better than we really were. That if the kids we witnessed earlier in the day could go out on a ski slope and perform at the level they performed at, we could certainly play harder and better. I didn't have to say anything between the second and third period. They went out and they did what they did. My point is this. The next day, we asked every athlete, as part of the student service projects, the volunteer projects, they had to write a recap of what they got from this event. And Allie Gould, and I'm going to go home and find a piece of paper because Brady reminded me of it tonight. She submitted a report that said that she had never felt this way. She thought that she wanted to commit her life to working with special needs athletes. And now this kid is traveling around the world. She's a delegate for the state of Rhode Island. She's an unbelievable person. But what she got from that on that day is far more important than any playoff wins that we had in the 10 years that I coached. It's far more important than the state championship we won. It was a very, very special thing. It's something I'll always remember, and I thank Brady for reminding me of that tonight. Now I got to put my other hat on, guys. If you understand politics, if you try to follow it, whether you like it or you don't, I'm not a big fan of it. Participate in it when necessary. I sent an email early this morning, and I asked for any public records for the last few days that pertain to what I said in front of the town council. Was there any movement towards putting together a group of four so that those four individuals could get into a room and not come out until a solution was found? We know who the four are: the town administrator, the town council president, the superintendent of schools, and the president of the school. Those are the four. I stand by those four. Those are the four that I still want to run. Those are the four that I think can make a difference. I don't think anybody else needs to be. And if the four of them can't figure it out, then all four of them need to step down immediately. It doesn't need to be anybody else. So what did I get when I requested this desire to see any public records? I saw the email trail. Bob, I think you alluded to that a little bit earlier in the meeting. I got to see them all, and I'm disgusted. I saw a plea go out, pull the meeting together at 4. I saw a response from the town council president that said he would be willing to meet, but it could not be 4. He wanted to bring in 2 members of his budget committee. He wanted to allow for a mediator, perhaps someone from RIDE, I think it said, and anyone else that the other groups wanted to bring in here. So now we're going to end up with 10 to 12 people in that room. Then, he did one thing that really made me. He copied the Valley Breeze on this chain of emails that was supposed to go out amongst our leaders to come up with a decision. So, I don't know if the Valley Breeze is here, but I gotta believe tomorrow morning when we wake up, the story is going to be on the front news that once again, North Smithfield can't figure out their own problems. I read every email that was submitted to me as part of open public records. And it became open the minute you copied the Valley Breeze. That was unnecessary. I then saw an email from Councilor Yazbek. He put a lot of time into what he was offering. His suggestions were clear, his suggestions were concise, and his suggestions were interesting. So much so that at one point he asked when we stopped living in a democracy. When did we become a dictatorship? When do people get to decide what the council wants to do or what the school committee wants to do? Bob, you have no more power than any member of the school committee. Mr. Flaherty has no more power than any member of the town council. None. 0. You are there to facilitate the meetings. You are there to follow the rules. So why is it that we're copying half our town council members and not all of them? It's disgusting. So I'm going to ask again. I've now seen, and no one else has seen this. I saw something that no one else has seen today, only because I asked for the public records. There's 3 proposals on the table. 1, before you get in a room and you don't come out until it's fixed. That's the one I like, I'll stand by it. The second one is, we put as many as 10 to 12 people in the room, not all elected officials. I'm against it. If you can't go into a meeting as an elected official and speak on behalf of yourself and your board, then you don't deserve to be in office. If you need to carry somebody around with you to whisper in your ear and tell you how you should think, then you should not be elected. You should not stay in office. You should third option that I saw is the one submitted by Councilor Yazbek. And while I'll still stand by my 4, I can live with his. His includes the town council, the school committee, and a meeting Monday night. Change the agenda. It's already on the docket. Change the agenda, take everything off that agenda, and put this on the agenda. And it would be a joint meeting between the town council and the school committee in public game. You get to sit there and watch. You get to be part of the democratic process. You get to see exactly how they interact with one another. If they need to go into executive session, they go into executive session. And if we have to sit outside for 4, 5, or 6 hours while they're in there, I'd be happy to do that. They will then come out of executive session and they can vote. At that point, they can cast a vote. And we will know whether or not they have come to terms, whether or not they have learned to play in the sandbox. I said the other night, one of the finest days of my life has been coaching in this community. I will always be a coach. I will always be an advocate for kids. I will always stand up and fight for these kids. My 4 kids are gone. I'm 55 years old. I'm at 75. I'll be standing there at the podium fighting for kids. Get in a room, figure it out, and do it Monday night. Demand it. Email your counselors tonight. Email your town administrator. Tell them they got 3 options. Number 1 is 4 people. That's my favorite. But Mr. Yazbek's option is probably a real close second. Either way, we will have an answer in the next week if they do this. Please, get involved, speak out, and start tonight by dialing the phones and sending the emails. Thank you.
We have 2 more speakers. Just as a clarification, I know Mr. Nagel did indicate that the Valley Breeze was copied. During that time, it was not myself, it was Mr. Flaherty that had decided to include the Valley Breeze in the discussion. Why, I don't know. No?
No, seriously.
Not at this time, hang on.
No, how is that even, I'm not talking ethically or morally. That crosses, I'm sorry, that crosses every line. As us, we elect this man. I got a term here that I want to use that I'm not going to use, but listen, I'm telling you. Mr. Daigle's idea doesn't get resolved. I'm going to make my best effort to make sure everybody who's an elected official doesn't have a job again.
That's why I wanted to state I prefer to govern amongst ourselves than the newspapers. That's what I was trying to say. So with that being said, Fran Johannes.
Thank you for allowing us all to speak tonight. As a parent, I support wholeheartedly an immediate resolution so that we can keep in place all that has been worked so hard to achieve. But if you don't mind, I'm coming before you this evening to speak briefly on another matter, an issue that has just as much importance and can be detrimental to the quality of education for our town as a whole. The town council and the town administrator have put forth proposed charter changes that will be devastating to the democratic balance of power our government has established. This past Monday, at the hour of 11 p.m., the town administrator stated that her objective for putting forth her proposal for a charter change was was to achieve, quote, a control of the school department, end quote, by allowing for 2 members of the school committee to be appointed rather than elected. One to be appointed by the town administrator, the other by the town council. I cannot begin to explain how disturbing her reason for this change was to me, and should be to everyone. This is a reason why voters of this town elect both the town council and the school committee, and that is to ensure fairness and equity with the management and operation of both towns and education. One can only imagine the potential devastation to our educational system should these changes occur. I'm going to guess that none of you have been asked for input as serving as the current school committee member. Despite that, I do ask that you all speak up and voice your opinion and concern on these proposed charter changes. And I encourage everyone, parent and student in this room to do the same. Please read these changes. You can find them on the town website. On March 3rd, the town council will be holding their last public meeting on the charter changes before they decide which questions to put before the voters. Everyone's input could make a difference. Please be informed voters. Thank you.
And the last speaker is Peg Bob.
Hi, my name is Peg Bada, live 440 Buxton Street. I'm the parent of 3 children. I want to speak to what Bill talked about. We actually put together a petition, and the letter submitted to town leadership was an effort to speed up that petition. The demands in that letter are not those of one individual, but of many of us. When we drafted this petition, we truly believed that the requests were reasonable. To get our leadership to lead, to have the school department budget examined by an outside entity, and to ask for town guidance around how we as residents could be part of the democratic process in North Smithfield. Surely these are not controversial. But as it turns out, they are. Starting with our first demand, we specified 4 leaders: the town administrator, the town council president, the school committee chair, and the superintendent of schools for a reason. These individuals are supposed to lead our town. They have been elected to lead our town. But now I hear that there are non-negotiables from our elected leaders. That, for example, the budget chair must be present. We disagree. We did not elect the budget chair. In fact, the budget chair ran for town council in 2012, and he lost. That is the way democracy works. So I'm sure people will say we are getting personal, but we did not start this battle. Our leaders and a handful of outspoken community members have. They have made this personal. You have left us no choice but to fight back. The budget chair has made it personal. And shame on certain members of the town council and elected officials for allowing the budget chair to behave the way that he does. I've been speaking with parents and recently heard that a parent is afraid to speak up because they are intimidated by certain individuals. In my opinion, that is bullying behavior. And I have witnessed this behavior by the budget chair firsthand. According to research, in many cases, it is the bully's ability to create the illusion that he or she has the support of the majority present that instills the fear of speaking out. After too many months of watching this behavior, I am speaking out. We will not stand for it anymore. We, as taxpayers, residents, and parents, have a right to be a part of the town's democratic process. So again, we respectfully ask that our elected officials lead. And the first step towards leading is learning how to work together. On behalf of those who elected you, if our leaders cannot do at least that, then I don't know why they serve at all. Thank you for your time.
Okay, at this time, we're going to ask the superintendent to make his recommendation formal. And just to reiterate, the request to meet the four of us is still out there. I'm waiting to hear back. I know Mr. Yazdak is trying to intervene. I have not heard back from the town administrator relative to her participation. I'm hopefully going to get back from her tomorrow. If not,
She's in the hallway. Right in the hallway. Call her in. Call her in and ask her.
she's in the hallway. We're really happy to hear her response. Yeah, we're going to move along. I don't believe I think she left the building. We're not talking others. At this time,
She must have tired out. I can't find her.
she left the building. All right, at this time, again, I want to reiterate the fact that we attempted to engage this meeting, the four of us. I think it's probably the more productive. And I know in reading Mr. Yazdak's email, some of which we've already conveyed our request to the town council to resolve the issue by 2 votes. One, motion to resolve the $240,000 that was agreed to by the town council when it adopted the budget in July. That's 240 off the 470. And then the other is the other side is the 300 and some odd thousand fund balance that is available to us. Now that might not be a great option, but it's an option available to us. So we can resolve this by the actions of the town council. We have no authority to get that money unless they act on it. So the ball is in their court. We need to have this meeting ASAP, and we can resolve this so that we have the math meeting, we have the science Olympiad, we have the graduation, and we can continue to move forward on the fiscal year 15 budget, which I hope you all join in the democratic process, because that's going to be even a bigger battle going forward. So with that, Mr. Lindbergh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Christina, she gone? I'm sorry if Christina feels like I didn't have her back. I'm sorry that you feel like I don't have her back. I really mean that. This is hard. This is really hard. It's been a struggle for the last 5 years. Mr. Regan, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those of you that have heard me try to ring this bell for the last 5 years, those of you that saw me present and fight hard for your budget and our needs for the last 5 years, those of you that were there, some of you have approached me and said, you told us. You've heard from the attorney about our situation. I can only apologize to you. If I can fix it tomorrow, I'll fix it tomorrow. If they agree to get in the room, I'll be there. I don't care what it takes. So I apologize to you from the bottom of my heart. I mean that. This part of the job really stinks. So I'm sorry that you feel that way. I will continue to fight for you. Like I said, I've done the best I could for the last 5 years, and the return on the investment has been incredible. But the support hasn't been there. And some of you know that. Actually, a lot of you know that. So. And it also pains me tonight that I'm going to make a motion where 4 outstanding individuals are going to be laid off. You're going to be laid off. Friday, a week from Friday on the 7th. One in particular has been with us for years, and it breaks my heart. It really does. And in fact, she stepped up and has taken a voluntary layoff so that somebody else can keep their job. That's what she's done. So, this is the situation we're in. And I gotta tell you, I'm straight up, guys, I don't care. Somebody can go through all the books. I would not have ever done this if I could have put it on. It's January. We did the best we could with the appropriation we had. As far as special needs kids, guys, I have one of my own. He's grown up. I was a SPED director for years. We started programs in the district that nobody else started, and we're doing well. We have some situations where I wish we could start more, but the young lady hit the nail on the head. I need money to start programs. Don't have it. Mr. Mezzanotte put in a budget for I don't know how many new textbooks. They're completely outdated. We haven't been able to get new texts for him that he needs. So I'm going to be quiet. Anyways, I apologize, and it breaks my heart. So, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I have to make this motion. Legally, I'm bound to. So, sorry. As part of the immediate actions previously approved by the committee, I recommend you vote to approve the following staff layoffs. Linda Dupree, Principal Secretary, Simon High School. Mary Claire Wade, Clerk, Simon Guidance Office. Effective 2/7/14. Edward Hernandez, Custodian, Simon Second Shift, High School. Effective 2/7/14. William McShane, Custodian, Simon Second Shift, High School. Effective 2/7/14. I'm going to stop there, and then I'll need a motion on the corrective action plan.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, we bring the office and recommend the approval of the superintendent's recommendation.
You've heard the motion by Mr. Heeman. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Connell. Discussion?
I would just say that I have statements and why do I really have I'm a kind of I do point out this is
And that's why I think it's imperative that we get that room, restore us, get that room, get it resolved. We can have it resolved tomorrow, just by 2 actions. And we can have it voted on Monday night by the town council.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I think it's what the town council people will do tonight. Because work commitments, I think we can make this happen. I don't want to make a letter and cooperate all around.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the approved recommended layoffs, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Lindberg?
Mr. Chair, I recommend that you vote to approve the final corrective action plan. That's submitted.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. You have the documents in front of you. What's your pleasure?
The chairman will again debate the office.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Connell. Mr. Marinelli, discussion. And again, this is an issue that we require by law. A. B, that depending on the changes in revenue, some of this can be adjusted at the same time. We're running parallel courses. And again, with relation to the RFP that we've been referring to, relative to an audit, that can be done on a parallel course as well, but it takes an action by the town council. So just want to reiterate that for the record. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the corrective action plan is submitted, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Lindbergh, anything else to come before us?
No, just sorry.
Mr. Lindbergh, I'd like you to report to these students every single day as to, and chairperson, as to how close you're getting to that meeting. They deserve it every day. They ought to have a report from you as to how that negotiation is occurring and exactly where you stand, so they know that democracy works.
And so anybody that's tagged to our school research, school search, school reach, I will send something out every day in terms of any response at all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have anything to come before us in executive session, Mr. Lindbergh? No? None? Okay. Motion to adjourn? second? Second, Mr. Colonel? Those in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Students.
Oh my God, oh.